Up to 90 miles an hour, bring the less hardy to a standstill or use them like a Scotsman's curling stones.
Alley fight between Fitz and Combs. You both get to pick 3 all-time Sox and Cubs as part of your alley fight. My number 1 draft pick is Michael Barrett.
Michael Barrett, you're out of your mind.
Michael, but you see that right hook? Ask AJ Pierzynski if he wants to get hit with that right hook again.
You can ask AJ Pierzynski that.
I will.
That's such a podcast question.
Shut up.
Throw to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. Uribe has it. He throws. Out! A White Sox winner and a World Championship.
And what is going on, Windy City Sports Talk fans? It's your boy Brandon Combs along with my guy Ryan Fitzgibbons.
False start, offense, the entire offensive line.
It is a Bears Monday. It is not a very good Bears Monday. It is I don't even know how to explain what we witnessed last night.
False start, offense, the entire offensive line.
Yes, that was almost like I believe the Chiefs had one on Thursday night. That was everybody but the center. So it's becoming a
new thing.
Yeah, maybe it's just a thing on teams that Matt Nagy has touched.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
I've
anyway,
never heard that before.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
There's a lot of things that I can't believe that happened yesterday, but we're definitely going to get into them. We're going to talk Bears tonight. We're going to talk Cubs tonight. We're going to talk some Notre Dame football, baby. Let's do it.
Cleanser.
So we have a lot to get to tonight, but if you missed any part of today's live broadcast, you can now catch us on all podcast platforms, including Amazon Music, Spotify, and Pandora. We're also available on iHeartRadio. As always, make sure to click that like button, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform because it helps us out more than you would ever know, and it costs you nothing.
Subscribe, please.
And if you have any feedback for us or have something you want us to talk about or questions you want us to answer, you can email us at combsandfitz, all one word, combsandfitz@gmail.com. Fitzy, what the fuck happened to our 10-12 win Bears?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this once. You're right now negotiating pretty tough with Arlington Heights. The Bears are.
Yes.
You're acting like you're big money. And then you run that out there again. You run something like that out there again. And I've said it before. We got screens now. Like, we don't all huddle around a screen anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we're Bears fans. We'll probably die Bears fans. We'll probably be yelling about this when we're 74. And I'll be like, huh? What?
We're gonna die because of the Bears.
Yeah. But what are you doing for the next generation? Like, why would they watch your organization? Why do you have another coach who's new? Why do you always have coaches that are new, by the way? Because last season he could have just thought it was an aberration and I'll do the same way because we got better talent now and they have the same problem. And why would people keep watching this crap? Why, if you're 20, would you keep watching this crap? If you grew up with a separate screen from your parents, you don't have to watch their crap. You go into a bar nowadays, and the Bears game isn't on every screen. Not in Chicago. You can watch another game. You could be watching, if it's noon, you can be watching a Chiefs game, even though the Chiefs. You could be watching a Bengals game, even though the Bengals. So I'm hoping that's what it is, but I mean, why would you continue to watch this crap for this many years? I mean, why would you continue to do it? I'm going to.
Yeah. I am.
That's my 30,000 feet view. But
what's that?
That's my 30,000 feet view. Like, that's pulled back from all of this. Like, why would you?
Right. Look,
crap.
I've taken in a lot of Chicago sports radio today, and purposely, because I wanted to listen to the fans, not even just like I was screaming at a couple of radio shows today because the hosts are they're jumping off the bridge with the fans, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And look, the Bears yesterday, there's no excuses for it. They were unprepared. They were not ready for week 1. They were not very well coached. The game plan was terrible. And Justin Fields, however, I will say this, for a guy who had no blocking, was rushed on 86% of his passes yesterday. 86% of his passes were rushed.
That's not good.
That's not good at all. I felt like he had a really good game for a guy with all of those deficits against him. Now, that being said, he made some really bad mistakes. That interception was a really bad mistake.
Oof.
He owned it, though.
That might be his worst, or one of his worst.
He owned it in the post-game press conference. He said, look, I saw, I had DJ one-on-one on the sidelines. I probably should have taken that shot along the sidelines. He said, but, I saw Mooney coming across the middle, and I had a window, and I tried to take it, and they closed that window really quick. So he knows what he did wrong there. He knows he should have taken a shot. He knows that he made a mistake. And Jeremiah saying, stop it, Justin was bad too. Jeremiah, before he threw that interception that I just talked about, he was 15 of 19. Yes, he finished the guy, I believe it was 24 of 37, which is over 60% completion percentage. But the game plan was to throw dink and dunks. And every time that he tried to go and look for anybody deep, either there was nobody open, or B, the pocket just collapsed on him. So to say that Justin was bad, I think is crazy to me, because I'm not saying he was good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's an incomplete grade. It's an incomplete grade because you can't evaluate him based off of what you saw yesterday. You can't evaluate a performance based off of a guy who was rushed on 86% of his throws. You can't evaluate a performance on a guy who was given a game plan that did not involve the wide receiver that they traded the number 1 pick for. He had 2 targets in the first half, 0 targets in the second half. And that was the game plan. I listened to Matt Eberflus talk this morning on a local radio show and give no answers and just skate around everything and and it was like, why did you even accept the interview? Why did you even come on this radio show and say, yes, I will talk with you guys on a Monday after, because you're not answering any questions. Jeremiah also says he was throwing horizontally all day. He better be over 60%. He missed open guys downfield regularly. Wait for all 22. I'm going to wait for all 22. And when it comes out, I'm actually anticipating it, because I really can't wait to watch this. However, he was throwing horizontally all day, but everybody, including Matt Eberflus this morning, said that was the game plan. Now, is that the game plan? What we need to know, what we need to understand is this the game plan because you don't trust Justin Fields and you don't think he's capable of throwing the ball downfield? Or is this the game plan because you are inept at play calling? I don't know what the answer is here, because you haven't given us any reason to think that Justin Fields isn't the guy. You haven't given us any reason to think that you don't believe in Justin Fields. So at some point, because Justin Fields had no problem telling us yesterday that was the game plan. So he was covering himself for why he's throwing vertically all day long. Now, when these come out, when the all 22 does come out, when we can see downfield and we can see where the wide receivers are when Justin makes a decision to check down and not take shots downfield, then yes, then we can criticize him, or maybe Jeremiah, maybe you will go ahead and you will see that he just had nobody open all day long. That the Packers had a perfect game plan for the Chicago Bears. Now, people talk about on the same side that Jordan Love had a great game. Jordan Love looked really good. Green Bay got it right again. Compare the numbers. Because Jordan Love was only he was 13 for 27 or something, 14 for 27.
Yeah.
He threw a lot of passes low and a lot of passes high. Yes, he threw for 3 touchdowns, but the difference between that and what Justin Fields did is that Jordan Love was playing against a defense that blew coverages the entire second half.
If you're not going to get pressure even semi consistently, even below average,
He said semi.
5 to 6 seconds, and you're not getting pressure 7 seconds. Like, there's no secondary that can defend against that. There isn't.
Yes.
I mean, it was he had all the time in the world, and you thought it'd be a little bit better than that.
Stop, Jeremiah. He was immaculate on third down because the Bears' coverage was horrendous in the secondary. He had wide open wide receivers to throw to, something Justin Fields did not have.
He did. I mean, he does say he was mostly pedestrian, but
you're pedestrian.
And pump the brakes, slow down.
I'm aggravated.
Breathe. I didn't really, I don't know. I was aggravated in because I thought he got the first down in that first drive. I really did. And even the broadcasters thought it, but I'm not going to go on what the broadcasters say because Greg Olsen had a bad day. But, people have bad days. I still think he's a good broadcaster, but he had a real bad day. Saying a defender had a good play in the back of the end zone against Cole Kmet when his back is to the ball and he's pushing Cole Kmet to the back of the end zone. And there was a lot of that, which happens a lot in football. I have no idea why. I mean, there's 32 different broadcast groups in baseball, and they seem to get a lot right. Yes. How is football so bad and they have 6 groups or 10, whatever they have now? They used to have 6 to 7 to 8 boos, whatever they have now, and they're that bad. But I'm not going to get into the broadcasting. It's the same thing, Combs. I hate to say it. It's the same thing again. Yeah. If this was a microcosm, if this was the first game of the year, and we saw this and that, and we have to give him time and be fine. But this is the same thing we've been going through. Like in the offseason, one of the first episodes we ever did, I said, I want a left tackle. I want a damn left tackle. I don't want a right tackle. A right tackle you can get off a heap somewhere. I want a left tackle, not Braxton Jones, who did have a holding call, did have an offsides call. I could be wrong on one of those, and gave up a sack. Definitely gave up a sack. I don't know if they're going to I don't know if Pro Football Focus, who's the most favorable goddamn to a player ever in Braxton Jones, he was terrible yesterday. Lucas Patrick was terrible. Cody Whitehair was terrible yesterday.
Yes.
I'm not going to get on Darnell Wright. He's a damn rookie. He seemed to have some good blocks there, especially on the goal line. I thought Rashawn Johnson probably had the best play as a rookie. Your 4th round pick, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing again with the offensive line. And it's been every damn year. I mean, you could say what you want about Cutler, but half the time he got hurt because his offensive line couldn't block anybody. Oh, Dominican Sue, why don't we double team that guy? He's slamming his head against the turf. You give up 6 goddamn sacks with Jay Cutler in the first half on a Monday night game. It's one thing you can't have an organization in this city. Again, I'll keep saying it. I don't care until they do something different. That's not innovating. That's not doing something different than other people that actually goddamn works. And you cannot keep bringing goddamn head coaches in here where it's their first year. Or their first time being a head coach. Because you could see that Eberflus, whatever the hell. Now you got me angry. You could see he's out of his depth. You can definitely see he is out of his depth. He does not know how to prepare a team because he had one of the worst rosters you'll ever see last year. So he could pin everything on that. And now this year, he doesn't get them ready for the game because he doesn't really know how. And you got guys like Chase Claypool who have the worst game. Why is he on the field if he's going to play like that? Missing blocks blatantly, like he's standing behind a damn counter trying to block somebody. Missing catches. You talked about Justin Fields' accuracy. He was 9 for 10, I think, at one point. And Chase Claypool was the drop pass. He would have been 10 for 10. And yes, they were doing a lot of horizontal stuff, but he had a beautiful pass to Mooney in between the coverage. He had a beautiful pass to Mooney on the run in between the coverage, 20 yards in the beginning of the game. Yeah, I mean, they must be going horizontal for it's either the offensive line or Justin Fields. It's one of the two. It can't be, or it's both. It could be both. I mean, do they think he's that bad? How do they even evaluate him?
Look, we know that the knock on Justin Fields, and I've known this since college because it was a knock on him I had coming out of Ohio State and into the draft, is that he holds onto the ball too long sometimes, right? So are some of these sacks on him? And that's what the All-22 will show. Mm-hmm. Are you holding onto the ball too long? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And if that's
see a lot of that last year, and we both watched the 22, not together, but separately. We did.
Here's how you fix that. You give him an offensive line that he doesn't have to worry about getting murdered from either side when he's not looking.
Here's the secret.
And that's the problem, is that you're trying to go vertical, or I'm sorry, lateral on some of these passes, horizontal, however you want to call it. You're trying to do that with these passes because you know your offensive line is trash. You got to get rid of the ball quickly. How about the Green Bay Packers defensive lineman yesterday that had Justin Fields dead to rights, but figured, oh, you know what? Never mind. You're throwing a screen pass, so I'm going to cover the guy you're throwing the ball to.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have anybody that can do that.
There's not many passes thrown in the NFL where it's not like a disastrous play and you lose 7 yards. Like It was like they ran the play pretty cleanly and they still lost 7 yards. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't know that has watched football. You can put a jumbo set in there. You can put 3 guys out. And you don't have to have a good offensive line. You'd like to, but you can put a jumbo set out there. They got that with Mercedes. I forget his name. He's been in the league for like 25 years. He's a blocking tight end. Cole Kmet can block.
Well, that's why Cole Kmet wasn't a big part of the offensive plan yesterday, because they had to keep him on the line.
You put both of those guys in there, and you put Rashawn Johnson, who's a grown-ass man at 22. Holy cow. You put him in the backfield, and you put 3 receivers out. And
without looking at the stat box, do you know how many catches Cole Kmet had yesterday?
He had 1 drop.
Do you know how many catches he had?
I don't think he had a catch, did he?
He had 5. He had 5 catches yesterday. And nobody knows it because everybody was looking at it like Cole Kmet's not part of the game plan. And Cole Kmet was, but they had to keep him there because they kept breaking through the damn line.
I had Chase Claypool on the mind that I thought for some reason.
He had 0 for 0 yards. Yeah, that's our number 2, by the way. And you've got to. I always thought, as a Bears fan, we said there was going to be gross overreaction if they lost this game. For perception, they had to win this game. Otherwise, Bears fans were jumping off of bridges, jumping off of roofs, and they were going to start going crazy, and they were going to start turning on Justin Fields. And I heard that a lot today from fans, is that they are already off of the wagon. Now, if Justin Fields goes out, if they do unleash him this week and they do allow him to throw downfield, I would rather you throw a pick going downfield than for you to sit there and hold on to the ball too long.
This many checkdowns.
But the difference in that too is there was a quarterback about 5 years ago who I said was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and people were going to realize it. And he was the only quarterback that season that threw for 5,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. The only quarterback in the league to do it that year. And his name was Jameis Winston. The problem was He threw 30 interceptions.
Yes.
Because he took shots deep, and he wasn't afraid to sling the ball when receivers weren't open. He said, I'm going to throw it up there. You make a play. And what happened was he got crucified and lost his starting job and never regained it back because he's a gunslinger, because he throws picks. Not Aaron Rodgers, but Brett Favre was the same way. And Brett Favre's a Hall of Fame quarterback. So if you want Justin Fields to take more shots deep, if you want Justin Fields to start opening it up, you have to be okay with him throwing interceptions, because we don't have playmakers other than DJ Moore on this team. We don't have it. So if he throws the ball up, we're going to lose a lot of those jump balls. Darnell Mooney is 5'3". He's not winning a jump ball in the end zone. You could throw it to Cole Kmet, but he's going to get held in the end zone and nobody's going to call it.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what happened yesterday. He got held on the play. He got interfered with on the play. Illegal contact on the field on the play. No flags.
There were flags.
And the Bears there were plenty of flags. But
False start. Offense. The entire offensive line.
And it was probably holding on Braxton Jones the next time because he can't block without holding. He's out of his element.
Yeah, and I don't know what he was doing on that one play. I forgot who came free. So many people came free. I saw 3. I tried to rewatch part of the game. That interception was terrible. He had 2 other guys open where he, inexplicably he didn't pass to. And I'm not sure the fumble was much better. I couldn't really see. They kind of like zero in on a guy when he starts to run. He tucked the ball, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot more wrong than there's no quarterback that could resurrect this team. At least I don't think there is.
Well, I would say Aaron Rodgers, but he got hurt on the first play of the game tonight, and he looks like he might be done for the season, as they just showed him walking off in a boot.
That one year, bro, I fucking broke my back pretty much.
Robert Saleh's just staring in disbelief at the camera the rest of the game. Like, that's how every time they put a camera on him, he can't believe what he's about to go through. Zach Wilson's his quarterback again. He's like, "Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? I got to go through this again."
They should just during press conferences. They should just send Lovey up there.
If you want to keep Zach Wilson happy, Robert Saleh, just introduce him to your mom. That's what he likes. Introduce him to your mom. He'll be happy.
Jesus Christ!
The Bears are not as bad as they played yesterday, but they also might not be as good as we thought that they were. I did not think that the offensive line was going to be this bad. And if it was just a week 1 thing because they didn't play in the preseason, which now is another topic, because I used to not care, but after that display, you might it might be like, if you don't make the playoffs, you need to play in the preseason, because you were not ready for week 1. Now, if they go out against Tampa Bay, and if they go out and they win by 2 scores against Tampa Bay, 3 scores against Tampa Bay, and do to Tampa Bay what Green Bay did to them, then all is right with the world, and we start believing in this team again. And then if they go out against Kansas City and they at least put up a fight in Kansas City, which I don't expect to see, but if they do put up that fight, then great. But from what I'm seeing from this team, as of doubting Thomas, the Bears are who we thought they were.
I heard a lot of that, or were not who we thought they were.
Yeah,
and we're looking at my beautiful open that I did yesterday, or I don't know. It's just a used line, I know, but go on.
So for me, I'm not going to jump off of the train. I'm not going to jump off of, the Bears, can't fix this. The Bears can't turn around. They can't right the ship. They can't do any of this, right? But the Bears, they have to fix it now. Because if you go 0-2, you got the Chiefs staring at you in week 3, you're 0-3. And if the Broncos somehow figure it out and you're 0-4, you're done.
See, that's the thing. I'm not doing this again this year. I'm not doing it again.
You are.
Sean Payton doesn't have this team at least ready, at least competent. I mean, do you think?
I don't know.
Andy
I
Reid
watched
doesn't
them
have
yesterday.
anything confident.
Very ready or competent.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of sloppy play, even from veteran coaches. But I mean, this was the sloppiest play out of any team. It was the Chicago.
Whoa! I mean, did you see the Giants play Sunday Night Football?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're playing. I think the Cowboys are better than the Packers. I really do. And I think the Cleveland Browns are better than the Packers too. By the way, they definitely have a much better defense and a better quarterback. I mean, and those were the two games where teams that were supposed to be a little bit better were sloppy because Joe Burrow's looked terrible. And I just put up the thing. That's happening in a micro. That's happening. He did lose to the Raiders, but that's happening. You do have a competent quarterback there for the Raiders. I mean, it's not that bad in Raiderland, but that's all happening in a shell. That's all happening with organizations that are actually okay, not the Raiders. But even the Bengals, even the Browns look better than the Bears right now. I mean, these are the Chiefs. No one's going nuts in Chief land. This is the Bears. This is after they go 3-14. This is after the Nagy era. This is after the Mark Trestman era. This is after all that crap. And now we have to see this again. They're not even prepared because you have a coach who is brand fucking new. And you have a left tackle who you got in the 5th fucking round.
Is Jerry Reinsdorf running this team?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's been some comparisons. John sent me a thing of fucking Scooby-Doo pulling off a mask, and it's a Bears mask, and then it's the White Sox. I mean,
yeah. So the report, by the way, just for all those that are watching us live, is that Rodgers has an Achilles tear.
Unreal.
Which puts him out for the year, just like
that's what it looked like.
Just like J.K. Dobbins, who I drafted in my big money league, and yeah,
you don't come back from an Achilles tear at 40.
No,
I said that about Verlander with Tommy John, but
Rodgers doesn't like football enough to come back from an Achilles tear. Yeah, that's the problem.
It's gonna take a lot of ayahuasca to get over that. But I mean, I actually wanted him to play. I thought it'd be interesting to see the Jets have what was going to be an above average quarterback no matter what.
Is this just the NFL? Is this just the football gods looking down at the New York Jets and being like, no, you don't get to be good. You don't get to be good. You guys, you went through this whole offseason thinking you were going to contend in the AFC East.
I can't.
Boom. Goodbye.
There was a podcast. Someone was talking on a podcast where they didn't know why this Jets fan had committed suicide. It was almost like because of the Jets. And the guy had committed suicide. I mean, it is something else. The only thing that's where, I mean, it used to be the Jets, and I think Zach Wilson could be maybe serviceable with that team. At least that Jets team is a little bit better than what the Bears got going. I mean, you do not have an offensive line or a defensive line. That's not one player away.
I think they did all right against the run yesterday. You don't think they did all right against the run yesterday?
They did okay in the first half.
Well, they did okay until Aaron Jones decided to pull a hammy.
A lot of teams, yeah, that too. A lot of teams do okay against the run in the first half. It's the second half that you're worried about when you're going against the run. I mean, Pickens looked okay, but Dexter looked lost.
Yeah.
Justin Jones was terrible. Justin Jones did not get. I think I was looking at I don't think he got one tackle.
Edmonds had a great day. I think Edmonds had a very good day.
He had a pretty good day.
Yeah, Edmonds had a good day.
Boy, I'd be the one looking on the bright side.
No, well, because look, I told you yesterday during the Bears pregame show, I'm not going to overreact to week 1. In the grand scheme of things,
I put this hot poker in my ass, I'm going to chop my dick off.
And that's what most Bears fans are doing right now. But I just, in the grand scheme of things, it's week 1. I also know that we were 1-0 last year after week 1, and we won 2 damn games the rest of the year.
Yeah. And that game was sort of,
I also know that when you look at the schedule, we are playing the NFC South with 4 rebuilding teams in it. We are playing the Las Vegas Raiders. We are playing. Yes, we have to play the Chiefs, but we also
When do they play Carolina? Is that the 7th, 8th game? Something like that. They lose to Carolina.
Something like that.
Everybody gets fired.
If this team doesn't pull out of this, if this team loses to Tampa Bay and then they lose to the Chiefs, I'm telling you right now, we're going to watch the same thing we saw last year, and they are going to take this season away, and they're going to end up with the number 1 pick again, and they're going to end up with whatever Carolina's pick ends up being, which is maybe number 2 or number 3. Maybe the only game they try to win is Carolina. I mean, because seriously, what if you go 0-3? You're not coming back from that. Very few teams in the NFL history have made the playoffs after starting 0-3, and you're not beating Kansas City. I mean, let's just face it.
They're going to get their shit together.
I mean, look,
someone is going to take that weird laminated thing away from him.
They will, but it'll be after the Bears game because they're going to let Nagy try to beat the Bears.
Yeah, probably.
Because if there is any team that can come back from 0-3, it's the Kansas City Chiefs under Andy Reid after they take the play calling away from Matt Nagy. They can go 0-3 and then finish the season 14-3.
Can we
because they have good players. They have quality talent on their team.
Can we just do the Open again? Can we just go back? Can we just 36 hours?
By the way, Kansas City just re-signed Chris Jones a few hours ago. So he ended his holdout, and Chris Jones will be playing against the Chicago Bears in 2 weeks. Justin Fields is going to die.
As soon as I put this hot poker in my ass, I'm going to chop my dick off.
Look, no, Jeremiah, stop it. It's not Caleb Williams talk time. Look, if you have the number 1 and number 2 pick, I think you keep those picks. However, I think you keep those picks and you go after the best offensive lineman in the draft, and obviously you go after Marvin Harrison Jr.
They should get.
You don't trade those picks. You don't trade those picks. You don't do anything with those picks. And look, Ryan Poles, you're on the clock, buddy, because you came in and said we were taking the North and never giving it back. Not once did you ever say it was going to be in 2030.
Stop that.
Not once did you ever say we're going to have to wait 10 years before we take the North. You said we were taking it and never giving it back. And after yesterday, you have got a lot to prove because some of these moves that you made, they looked good on paper, but you may not have hired the right coach to make them transfer over to the field. Sean Payton was available, and you hired Matt Eberflus. So you need to own this, and you better fix. If I am Ryan Poles, I had a meeting with Matt Eberflus before the plane left last night. Actually, the plane didn't leave because they're in Chicago. Before you got back to the locker room, I was sitting outside of the door. If I'm Ryan Poles, and I said, "Meet me in your office." And I walk into your office and I say, "You've got 2 weeks to fix this. If we are 0-3 coming out of Kansas City, somebody else is taking over this team. Because if this is not fixed, I look like an asshole. And if I'm going to look like an asshole, you're going to get axed really quick, and I'm going to find somebody to fix it so I can show everybody else, hey, I can hire the right guy."
Every GM gets 2 coaches, don't they?
Well, he's going to have to get his really quick because if this is what it is, if Eberflus is going to continue to just try to dink and dunk past teams, if he is not going to allow the guy that you have predicated your future on in Justin Fields, and not all, because that's what you have to do. If you are Matt Eberflus, you have to say, you know what, kid, sink or swim. We are going to try to obliterate teams that we need to obliterate. We are going to try to destroy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You throw the ball deep. And if it gets picked off, it gets picked off. But I need to see you read defenses. I need to see you pick this damn team apart because this team is no good.
No.
The team that you are playing 2 weeks from now against the Denver Broncos is in the tailspin.
The Vikings should have won by, 14, 17, whatever points. They should have won by 2 scores.
I was watching that whole first half, and I'm like, oh, the Vikings are going to roll these guys because every time that they went in after Baker Mayfield heard footsteps and he curled into the fetal position. Like, it was weird because it looked like he was scared to get hit. And I was like, I don't know what I'm watching right now. Why does Baker Mayfield look so scared to play quarterback in the NFL? And that's exactly what it looked like. I'm like, okay, this team should be easy to beat. Same thing when you play Carolina, when you play the Falcons. These teams should not be beat. If Desmond Ridder outperforms Justin Fields, this jersey behind me will be coming off the wall.
Yeah. I don't think that'll happen. I think he'll get it together.
I do too.
I think he will. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it was exactly bad. Every quarterback, even the best quarterbacks, and people could say what they want, even the best quarterbacks have a couple bad plays almost every game, even in their best games. No quarterback, goes very rare unless you have Rich Gannon in whatever playoff game that was when he was like 25 for 25. It just doesn't happen much. There's a lot of going on. And you have guys, I counted 3 guys that came in unblocked, and he got away from one actually. And at some point in the broadcast, they're like, well, he hasn't been sacked yet. So the offensive line has done okay. He had been under siege, and not Steven Seagal in that terrible movie with Tommy Lee Jones. Why did you do that to Tommy Lee Jones? But anyway, yeah, I mean, he was absolutely he had no chance on some of those plays. And that's the thing. You have a quarterback that could go through 3 years without being properly evaluated. He's already not been properly evaluated. At the very least with Jalen Hurts, who I've compared him to, and Josh Allen, you had some evaluation through the first 2 years, even if it was bad. There was evaluation.
Right.
I mean, you can't even evaluate this guy. I mean, I'm not the only one that's saying it. I mean, everybody's looking at it. You can't even do that.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And Ryan Poles was supposed to be the guy to build an offensive line. He was the guy I've said on this show that he was supposed to be able to build offensive line. I trust him. How do I trust him after this game? I mean, something has got to change. I have got to look back on this and be like, yeah, I guess I overreacted a little bit. My only hope is that it was sloppy. It's week 1, and a lot of these teams were sloppy. There was a lot of sloppy football play that will not be happening 3 or 4 weeks from now.
I like sloppy, but not on the football field. Jeremiah Murray says, have you not figured out this regime is okay with being bad another year? They held back because they know the talent isn't there on this team yet. So here would be my problem with that. If you are okay with being bad, and if that is a correct statement, which I don't think it is. I think that they thought that they got better. I think that they thought they made some right moves. And I think that they thought they were going to be a team that contended for this division. I really believe that. But if you weren't, then you needed, instead of Ryan Poles going the same route that Bears fans have been led year after year after year for the last 40 freaking years, what you needed to do was come and go the Theo Epstein route. Because you're a new GM, you need to come and be like, look, we're going to be bad for a couple of years. But by 2024, 2025, we're going to compete. Then Bears fans we would have nothing to complain about. We would have nothing to argue about. But you sold to us that you were getting better. You sold to us that you were making the right moves. You sold to us that Tremaine Edmonds and the other linebacker that you got, and Nate Jones, you sold to us that Nate Jones was going to be a better offensive lineman than Orlando Brown. You know what? Orlando Brown showed up to practice. Orlando Brown showed up to workouts. Orlando Brown showed up to preseason games, and Orlando Brown played his ass off. And Nate Jones was winded after 2 damn plays. So don't sell that to us if that's what because the problem now with Chicago sports is that we expect that if we're going to lose, that you at least tell us we're going to lose. White Sox fans are sick of being fed the shit that they're being fed.
Yeah.
Blackhawks fans in the late 90s, early 2000s were sick of the shit they were being fed. Cubs fans got sick of the shit they were being fed. And what happened was the Blackhawks got a GM that came in and said, look, we're going to get better, and I promise you that. And they changed everything about that team, and they won 3 Stanley Cups. The Cubs had a GM come in and said, look, we're going to be bad for a couple of years, but I promise you we're going to be better, and we're going to compete. And that's what happened, and they won a World Series after 108 years.
108
like
years, geez.
108 years. You act like the White Sox didn't have to wait like
89.
97 or something.
89.
Like 89. All right, yeah, because that's way better than 108
years. I'll be 50 in 8 years, asshole.
Yeah. At any rate,
time. Don't short sell me.
I think that if they expected to be bad, then Ryan Poles went about this the wrong way.
Yeah,
and Ryan Poles, he's look. Bears fans are done. They're done. We're done with being the team that never has a competent staff. We're done being the team that never has the same ability to go out and grab the players that we absolutely positively want and not worry about how much we're spending on them. We want to be the Jets going after Aaron Rodgers, not particularly, but in jest, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be the guy, the team that goes out and says, you know what? Let's go get DeAndre Hopkins. Let's go add to our wide receiver core. Let's go out and let's go get Chris Jones, the defensive end. Let's trade what we need to trade. Well, you guys want a second and a third round pick? Here's your second and third round pick. Give us one of the best defensive ends in the NFL. Because you're not going to get anything with those second or third round picks that's going to be better than what Chris Jones is going to provide for you.
Yeah, and we sat and we were kind of like linebackers. I mean, when they first made those moves.
Yes.
A while ago now, months ago, we sat on the show and said, linebacker, okay. Like, yeah, Tremaine Edmonds is good. TJ McBride is good. Jack Sanborn is the savior. No, but we thought that's kind of weird, especially since you got rid of a middle linebacker who's one of the best in the league.
At some point, you have to change your culture, though. And I'm not talking about your culture of being a defensive team and a run-first team. Do whatever you want in that aspect, as long as you're winning. I don't care if you're a defensive team. I don't care if you're a run-first team. I'd like to be a high-powered offense. But if you're not that, but you're still winning games, I am fine with that. If we're watching Rex Grossman let a defense lead him to a Super Bowl, and we're in a Super Bowl, I'm okay with that. But what I am not okay with is the inept ability to just let this kid sink or swim. Let this kid. I told my boss this last week. She goes, well, these new guys that we hired, who do you think's equipped for what? I said, here's what you do. You figure out what jobs you want, and then you go all 300 on them. This is Sparta. And you kick them down the fucking hole and let them figure it out. Because if they're not good enough to do the things that we need them to do, then they're not good enough to be here. So same damn thing. If Justin Fields is not good enough to figure out a defense and read a defense and throw a ball downfield when he's supposed to throw a ball downfield, let him sink. If we were all wrong about him, we will figure that out.
Yeah.
But you have no choice but to let him sink, because if not, then you're going to be with Tyson Bagent. And by week 4, if this team's 0-4, there are going to be people calling for Tyson Bagent. There are people calling for him yesterday. I saw a Facebook post that said Tyson Bagent would have had this team in the end zone 3 times already, is what I saw on Facebook. A post on Facebook.
Oh, my God.
People are ridiculous, but let this kid sink or swim.
Yeah.
They don't do that. And Jeremiah Murray, that's what we did in 18, and it just got worse. No, they didn't let him sink or swim. Matt Nagy refused to change his playbook for anybody. Nobody changed it. Matt Nagy did not allow for the Bears
season in 2018. It wasn't that bad.
Well, that's the thing, though.
It was his second season. He had that weird season. This is going to sound really familiar. He had that weird season with John Fox, and then Nagy comes in. He has a pretty good season in 18.
Can we have a Scooby-Doo moment?
False start. offense, the entire offensive line.
So look, Matt Nagy was incapable of changing his playbook for anybody. My question, and I heard this question earlier today, is, are the Bears just incapable of developing a quarterback? Are the Bears just ruining quarterback after quarterback? Because I remember watching Trubisky run, and I kept saying, well, when he's out of the pocket, he's actually pretty accurate. When he's throwing while he's on the move, he is better than when he's in the pocket. So roll him out. And all Matt Nagy wanted to do was 6 and 7 step drops with him. He did the same thing to Justin Fields. You don't have the offensive line equipped for that. You've got to do rollouts. You've got to be able to get these guys on the move. And that's where Justin Fields is comfortable. And you keep putting him in this pocket that he doesn't know when is going to collapse and cave on him.
It was another first-time coach. I'm sorry, who did not know how to prepare a team, who's just doing it on the fly.
Eberflus is not the one calling the offensive plays, though. Our offensive coordinator is calling the plays, and this guy came from Green Bay, who ran a pretty damn good offense. So we can't blame Eberflus for what the problem is with the offense.
He's setting up the team. He said he was in the offensive meetings. He said he wanted to see how it went. He said, he's also setting up the team. He's putting the plan together.
Right. I agree with that.
He wasn't a boob yesterday. He obviously was. Anybody who watched the game could see that. Like, throw the ball downfield, at least give it a try. He did that a lot last year, too. He had a lot of head-shaking moments. But this is the guy leading the team. This is the guy saying, we're not going to play these guys in preseason. This is the guy saying, we were in practice. We had practice with the Colts.
Yeah. But this is also... I blame him for the defense because this guy has a defensive mind. That's who they hired, and he ran a really damn good defense with the Colts, and it's just not transferring here. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he needs to read his personnel and change his scheme for the personnel. I don't know what the deal is, but you can't put what's going on. Getsy was in Green Bay with a great quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, top 5, if you ask me, and he was doing just fine. So either A, Luke Getsy was just dragged along by Aaron Rodgers' coattails and really didn't know what he was doing, or B, he doesn't think that Justin Fields is capable of running an offense.
Or he doesn't have the offensive line that they had in Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers won 2 back-to-back MVPs. Yes. They had a pretty damn good offensive line, top 5.
Well, plus Aaron Rodgers throws 4 picks a season. Like, he doesn't throw interceptions. He's great at not turning the ball over. But you have got to do something, because right now it looks more like it's you than it does Justin Fields. And if it's Justin Fields, you need to let us know. You need to let us know. Because what I'm hearing, what I heard from a fan today that called in, said that there is he was out on a golf outing and he was with some Green Bay Packers executives, and they were talking about Jordan Love and how much they like Jordan Love. And he asked them, what do you think about our quarterback? And the response from these guys who were drinking and who had a little bit too much to drink and actually answered this guy honestly, said, you mean the best running back in the league? But if that is the perception around the league, that he's not scaring you with his arm, you either need to change it because everybody knows that he can't pass and you need to show them that he can, or you're going to get fired. You went from a guy in Luke Getsy who, if you run a great offense and if this offense succeeds, you're looking at a head coaching position next year, to a guy who is not going to be able to move up because you couldn't get it done.
Yep.
So if you're Luke Getsy, you got to think about yourself too. Hey, look, this isn't me. This is this kid. I can make the play calls. Here's the play calls. It's this kid. He can't do it. And we all need to know that. We don't know that. Nobody's telling us what it is. We got a lot of finger pointing going on.
Yeah, I mean, and you got an offense that just doesn't seem confident in itself. I mean, And you throw to DJ Moore twice.
Yeah. The guy you traded the number 1 pick for.
Dragging people with him. He's not getting much blocking downfield, and he's dragging people with him. It wasn't a very well-designed play, but he made it good. Or, both plays. One was just a catch where he didn't really run after the catch, but he's dragging guys with him on the second play. Looks like they got some momentum. They don't go back to him. They do not go back to him. Oh, yeah, did we run? And then... did we run plays? Did we run some plays to him? Yeah, we did. Yeah, it just didn't work out. Well, how many plays did you run to him? Because in the Eagles game last year, when Jalen Hurts didn't really have a good game against the Bears, Johnson had a great game against A.J. Brown, but they threw to A.J. Brown like 18 times. Yeah. It was something like that. I'd have to go back and look at it. A.J. Brown had like 10 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep.
He missed 8 catches, but they threw to him 18 motherfucking times.
Yes.
Like, what is going on here? I mean, Jalen Johnson, I was trying to think about.
There's something and then the other thing that baffled me yesterday, Roschon Johnson, like, almost kills a Packer defender on a run play. Like, just barrels him over, knocks him. The guy was so pissed that he got embarrassed that he got up and tried to fight Roschon. That was it, and it was an incredible run, and it set up a touchdown play. And the very next series, Roschon Johnson was nowhere to be found on the field. That's a coaching problem. This is a guy that's working.
Yeah,
this is a guy that just shown he can run people over, and you're like, yeah, sit down.
And you kept with the horizontal play. It was weird.
In the fourth quarter, down by 24 points, they did a quarterback draw.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And don't give me like I listened to I'm gonna call him out. Cap and Jay Hood this morning on ESPN 1000. Cap and Jay Hood this morning were talking, and they were boasting about how good of an analyst Greg Olsen is, and they played about how he said you can't be loafing around with you just wasted 24 seconds. But what they failed to play was 3 minutes before that when he said you can't get caught chasing 24 points here and risk getting your players injured.
Yeah, I mean, he had a bad game. He had a really bad game.
It was terrible.
Cole Kmet, there was a couple other plays where it was like, that's not what happened, man.
Yes.
Go back on it and be like, oh, yeah, I thought I had seen that. No, I saw this. They don't say that even in football. It's kind of crazy sometimes. Some of the analysts do it, but he just didn't have a good game. First game of the season, maybe they were even sloppy there on the broadcast crew, but like it was.
But Jay Hood and Cap were like boasting about how great of an analyst he was, and they kept playing that clip, and I'm like, and they even told Eberflus about it. They said and Cap sounded like he was just attacking Eberflus through the whole thing, which is funny too that I'm talking about this because in about 2 weeks, Hoodie's going to be my teacher at Illinois Media School, so I might show him this clip. But you kept playing a clip that showed this guy saying one thing, but 3 minutes ago he had said the exact opposite thing. But you kept going with this one thing because you wanted to ask the coach about it because you agreed with it. But what about what he said 3 minutes prior to that? Like It baffles my mind how hard people jumped off of this thing. I guess it doesn't baffle my mind. I guess I kind of expected it, right? I expected people to jump off the ledge after losing to Green Bay, if they were going to lose to Green Bay. They were bad yesterday. There's no excuse for it. They were out-coached. They were out-talented. They were out everything yesterday. And they made Jordan Love look like he was a superstar, even though when you look at the numbers and you put them side by side with Justin Fields, they're actually pretty comparable. At any rate, let's talk about some good Chicago sports.
Cubs?
Let's talk Cubs. Cubs lost 3 out of 4 to the Arizona Diamondbacks, but did salvage the game on Sunday, and they do still remain 2 games ahead of Arizona in the wild card. And they're in Colorado tonight, and they've got Colorado and then another 3-game series with Arizona before returning home for the final homestand. And then they will head out to play Atlanta and Milwaukee to end the season. The Cubs are 3 games out of the division after Milwaukee blew a combined no-hitter yesterday in extra innings, by the way, and lost the game 4-3. They're 3 games out of the division. Can they still win this division?
I'm gonna stick to no.
I was hoping you would stick to this because you said they couldn't win 86 games either.
Well, I thought I had them over 500 this season at the very beginning of the season.
Yeah, but then when I asked you a month ago, this team had only had they were 3 games under 500 at the time. I said, can they still win 86, 87 games like I predicted? And you said no.
I did not think so at the time. I don't think they can catch up to Milwaukee. I mean, they let kind of Arizona back into this. I'm not going to say it was bad, but you do have some dips in the season like this. You knew they weren't going to just win every series till the end of the year. That just doesn't happen in baseball. I just think they're too transitional right now. I don't think they catch up to Milwaukee, but maybe they will. I mean, we both thought that the Sox were going to win over 90 games. We thought the Bears were going to win yesterday. I mean, they could, in fact, do it. I don't like to get into the prediction game. I just like to. I do like what I'm seeing with the Cubs. I think they have a good base. I think what happens this year doesn't really matter in the whole scheme of things when it comes to the Cubs organization, unless you're Virginia McCaskey and you're 100 years old and you might not have another year. But if you're, still pretty young, the next couple of years look pretty bright for the Cubs. I mean, whether they re-signed Belly Bombs which is, come on, enough. But whether they re-sign him or not, or re-sign some of these more veteran players, it doesn't matter. I feel like they have a good base. I think you do too. I think this organization is going in the right direction. I'm not sure how much we're going to be thinking about this year 1 or 2 years from now.
So the Cubs, since June 1st, after they had that bad May, have only lost 6 series. In this time frame, up till now, they have only lost 6 series.
Mm-hmm.
If they win 2 out of 3 out of every series that's left, and sweep just one of those series, like Colorado this week, which they absolutely could sweep Colorado.
Oof, they're bad.
And then they win 2 out of 3 the rest of the way, they win 90 games. And that, I believe, could win you the division. However, Alzolay going down today does not help it. Alzolay going to the DL. They did call it PCA. They did bring back Michael Fulmer off the DL. I don't think that helps your cause. I still think they're going to be competitive because they've done it all year long. They beat the good teams and they struggle versus the bad teams.
They're up right now. So
Chairman Murray says Fitz loves since June 1st stats.
Yes.
But Hoffy. We're not talking Bears anymore, Hoffy. 56 minutes of misery. We're done. Anyway, I don't know that they can do that. I don't know that they catch Milwaukee. Milwaukee's got too much pitching. And I think they're pretty set with a 3-game lead. I hope that they do. I'm not rooting for them to fail. But I think that the Cubs might actually catch Philadelphia for the number 1 wild card spot and actually be able to host a wild card series.
That'd be nice.
I think that that's possible.
I mean, I don't see that as impossible. I mean, Philly had kind of a really messy game against Atlanta today. They even came back, but they had some pretty terrible plays. I think that was today's game. It could have been yesterday. I think it was yesterday, but whatever. All the days are blurring together because of the Bears. But yeah, I mean, I think they could possibly catch Philly. I wouldn't say that's impossible, but I think you're right. I think Milwaukee just has too much pitching, and I think in the bigger picture, it's great that they're going to the playoffs. I mean, I did not think teams that were, they're going to win 86 games. I wouldn't have guessed that would have made the wild card. maybe even the first wild card in the National League. I wouldn't have guessed that. And in the American League, I didn't think it was going to be that bad either. I'm not talking about the AL East, but I'm talking about the AL Central. I really didn't think things were going to be this bad. But like I said before, I had the Cubs going over 500 this year, especially when they got Dansby Swanson, and that was without Cody Bellinger having a year like he had.
Yeah, and not only are the Cubs, there'll be a game behind Philly if they win the game tonight. But not only did we not expect the Cubs to be number one, but Cincinnati's still in the third wild card hunt. They're only a game and a half behind Arizona, and that would send 3 NL Central teams to the playoffs. Who the hell would have thought that? I didn't even think 2 guys. I thought the only way you get into the postseason out of this division was to win the division. I didn't think any team was going to win the wild card. I thought there were too many other good teams in the league, and I thought the Central Division was a really bad division. But they're competing to throw 3 teams into the playoffs. So I like what the Cubs are doing. I like the call up of PCA. I've been calling for it for a long time, but I kind of dismiss the fact that the Iowa Cubs were in the playoffs and doing all this stuff, and now the playoff run is over for Iowa, so they were able to call up PCA. But you've got the pieces in place, and I mean, I don't see this team going away. I know you scoffed at it and you laughed at me when I said, and I played it back too after you said it, because I never once said that they were going to be do damage in the playoffs. I just said they were going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
Okay, I'll re-listen to it.
And they are going to be a tough out in the playoffs. You're going to have to, because I did not say they could do damage.
I'll pull the audio.
Okay. And so they are going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Now, my question is, for you, and maybe you could answer this for me, because it's a question I talked with a buddy about today while we were at work, is who's their starting 3? Justin Steele's obviously your number 1.
Well, yeah.
He's starting in the first game of any playoff series. Who's number 2 and who's number 3?
I think they're going to throw Hendricks out there.
I think he's the only guy with playoff experience, and I think he's capable. But Jeremiah Assad has had a really good
Does he still have
stretch
something in the tank. I mean,
Jordan Wicks,
is he stretched up enough? Is he stretched out enough? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, especially in that first series.
He's probably fresher than any other pitcher.
Probably be a 3-game series. I mean, you hope they win the division and get into a longer series, but
right.
Maybe the best thing you can do is a 3-game series, so you're not really worried about that until you get out of that series, which kind of sucks that you have to play a 3-game series. Like, why even have it? Just in baseball, that drives me mad.
Jeremiah says you bring him up now because he still needs work. PCA needs at bats for the future, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring up in 2016. Not that I think the Cubs team is winning the World Series, but in 2016, they brought up a young kid named Wilson Contreras late in the season and made him a 3rd catcher, and they carried 3 catchers throughout the playoff. This team is deep in the outfield already. They've already got players that like Christopher Morel that they're not finding at bats for, even though Nick Madrigal continues to play every damn day.
He got a double the other day, I heard.
He did. And look, his average has dipped from 280 to like 263. And he's getting picked off every time he gets on base anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But he takes 6 crow hops for every throw that he makes from third base as well. There's something there. So
you've lost your mind.
You
lost your mind with this kid. He's had an okay season.
Yeah, but I'd rather see Christopher Morel taking at bats.
Well, can Christopher Morel play 3rd? Yeah.
Christopher Morel can play 3rd. He played like 10 or 15 games at third base.
Oh, well, yeah, then he's probably great at it.
I don't know that he's great at it, but I don't know. He's not as bad, maybe, as magical. Like, he's not going to hurt you. And this kid's bat is more of it's like Javi Baez's bat was. Yes, he's going to strike out a lot, but he's going to make things happen as well.
Yeah.
And that was the great thing about Javi Baez.
I actually like Christopher Morel. He's one of my favorite players on the team. I just think he's an exciting player. I think he's going to be a lot better than you thought he was going to be. Should I pull that audio too while
they gave him a start? They gave him a start tonight, and he's 1 for 3 with a home run. So I mean, I like Chris Morel. You're right. I did when he came up from AAA. I said I don't know that he's going to transfer to MLB because he is killing AAA pitching just like he was last year. And when he came up, he had 1 or 2 good weeks, and then you never heard from him again. And then he started this year again in AAA. So yeah, I was worried about him, but he proved me wrong. I'm always okay with admitting that I'm wrong about a guy being great,
or an entire team,
being great. 10 to 12 wins is exactly what I said. And I'm still sticking with it. I'm not off of that yet, by the way. I'm worried. I'm very worried. I'm also and I'm not afraid to admit that I'm worried about Justin Fields.
Yep.
You have to be at this point. So I'm just going to admit that. So let's talk some Notre Dame.
All right, slipping off the Cubs a little quickly.
Well, I mean, it's
squirrely. Yeah, it's getting late.
It's 9:38, and we've been on for over an hour, and we talked about the Bears for about 55 minutes longer than I wanted to talk about them. So we do what we got to do. But Notre Dame 3-0. Their quarterback is 42 with 2 mortgages and 7 kids.
Yeah,
and it's his 15th year in the league. So, but no, they're looking good. Look, it's his 6th year in college football, but it's because he was injured.
He loves it.
In 2019, he was injured, so he regained a year of eligibility. In 2020, didn't count for anybody, so they get that year of eligibility back. So he is playing. I believe he's 25, maybe 26.
Plus 20.
Yeah, plus 20. Smokes 3 packs of Marlboros a day.
Yeah.
But no, they're 3-0, and that offense looks really, really good. That offense looks really, really good. Is that just a vape pen or is that a dab pen? Don't lie to me.
No, it's not. But we should have this should have been the show where we took edible.
Where we take them. We might have that show on Sunday since you're spinning the wheel, by the way. I mean, I had 10 correct calls. Actually, 11 correct calls.
Spinning wheel sounder
yesterday. I only had 3 wrong calls yesterday, or 2 wrong calls yesterday, as I'm looking at it. So I'm just
looking at it.
Throwing it out there.
Change that. I want to see that. You did it in pencil.
I did it in pen. And just so we're aware, you picked the Giants last night, who lost by 40.
No, but no. I just couldn't. And you know what? I should have taken Tampa Bay in retrospect because it's very hard rooting for the Vikings.
Yes.
But Notre Dame has a quarterback, it seems. He doesn't look bad. I don't care that he's 95. He doesn't look bad. He makes the right reads. I don't think he's thrown an interception.
No.
No interceptions. They look pretty damn good.
Are they a legit college football playoff team?
Why not?
Well, because their schedule is pretty damn tough.
Yeah, it is. But they got a good defense. I mean, they lose one game and they could still make it in the playoffs. I mean, that's happened to a lot of teams throughout the last few years that they've had the playoffs. I don't see why not. When you have a good quarterback, especially in college football, I mean, this thing, it looks good right now. I mean, they had their first test against NC State and went really well. Not that NC State was some powerhouse, but they're not a pushover either.
Right. I don't know that Notre Dame is I'm struggling here to find their schedule. I don't
you find their schedule. Jeremiah Murray says 55 minutes is a long time to throw up in your mouth.
55 minutes is a long time to throw up in your mouth. You are correct, sir. I don't know that Notre Dame is because every time I believe that this team is figuring it out, and every time I believe that this team is a football playoff team, they find a way to disappoint me. So it's kind of like the Bears PTSD that I talk about. This is Notre Dame PTSD.
Yeah, but
you got Ohio State coming into Notre Dame in 2 weeks, the number 6 team.
I saw that.
You play USC, the number 5 team in the country right now,
with Jeremiah's boy.
Yep, and you still have to go to Clemson, who doesn't look very good right now.
No.
You still have to go there though, and that's a tough place to play. They're going to be looking to beat you. They're going to be looking to salvage their season by beating you. Dabo Swinney's not going to take that lightly. I don't know that they're going to be a college football playoff team. And John C.T. Hoffman says, do you want them in the college football playoffs? Have they not lost their shorts in the playoffs yet? Every time they get into the college football playoffs, they look like they don't belong in the college football playoff. Every time.
Only been one time? Or were they in twice?
I believe 3 times now. Because they were in the college football playoff when they had the linebacker Manti Te'o, who had the imaginary girlfriend.
I didn't know there was a playoff then.
They went to the title game that year too. Yeah, there was a playoff. They won the playoff game and then they went to the championship game against Alabama. And
ND is fucked as the Bears based on that schedule. Doubting Thomas checks in with his just change the Lions.
With the riveting Notre Dame take, has this guy watched college football ever in his life?
I'm not sure.
Shano says LSU will probably drop them in the ground. They are not going to lose, and there's no way that Freeman is going to lose to Brian Kelly. I guarantee you that Freeman scheduled that on his calendar the day that it came out and got released. He is not losing that game, and LSU looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't guarantee a win, but
Florida State waxed that ass.
Yeah, and he says, well, we're going to beat Florida State. Watch, and they were not who they thought they were.
No, they were not who they thought they were.
My Denny Green sounder. Why don't I have that?
And so you've got Central Michigan this week. Obviously, I mean, unless you have another mishap like they did last year. The only Notre Dame game I've ever been to, unfortunately. Unless you have that mishap again, you're going to go into the Ohio State game 4-0. I just Ohio State scares me.
What about the Buffaloes?
They're not going to be in the college football playoff. I don't think.
I don't see that happening.
Even if they go undefeated, I don't know that happens. I mean, they are another team that has a tough schedule. And I think that they made it that way on purpose heading into this year, just so they could get into the college football playoff. But they play Oregon at Oregon. They play USC this year. They also play Utah, and they play Oregon State and Washington State, and they play UCLA. They have a gauntlet. Yeah, I don't know. They've got a worse schedule to make it to the playoffs than. But I said last week, I'm a believer in what Coach Prime is doing.
Yeah,
and they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch week in and week out, and they're going to be a primetime game, no pun intended, every week.
He don't stop, man.
No.
That guy's a something. He really is. He's making it happen. I mean, is he always going to have this kind of talent moving over to him? I don't know, but he's definitely attracting it in every tweet and every soundbite he has as you watch the Cubs play the Colorado Rockies, who won 51 games this year, who will lose 100 games. I'm saying this as you do that. We couldn't just turn off the game. Like, who cares? They're going to win.
Who?
The Rockies are going to score. The Cubs.
I'm not even watching the Cubs game.
Yeah, right.
You're right. I'm watching the Cubs game.
I think I just saw Ian Happ in the reflection. No, I did.
It was Pete Crow Armstrong, actually. They just put him in the game.
Oh, my God.
And he tried stealing third and got thrown out.
Is that why you're salivating all over the mic? Got thrown out at third.
Yeah, I said I can't have Nick Magical in because he gets picked off every time he gets on base. So what does PCA do? Comes in and gets picked off base.
Yes, there you go.
Look.
He's got to learn.
I don't know that Notre Dame can overcome that. I do know that they're looking a lot better offensively than they have in recent years. And with Tommy Rees going to Alabama to be their offensive coordinator, and how bad and how predictable the Notre Dame offense looked last year, and then Alabama losing to Texas this year, is Tommy Rees the most overrated offensive coordinator
He looks
in college
stressed.
football? Well, because every time he takes away, like they're last year watching Notre Dame, I could tell you before the play started where they were going with the ball.
Like old Gatorade bottles by him, and like just sweaty.
He's not good.
Weird crew cut. Like, and yeah, he looked really stressed. I saw the video of him. I was like, holy. It looked like he got a call from Nick Saban that wasn't favorable. And if you're that scared of a 70-year-old man who's 5'7", I mean, maybe you're in the wrong business.
I am not drunk coffee. Shanna Stiso says we're all drunk in here.
Not tonight.
No.
Cold tea.
Yeah. I don't believe that that's tea in there. It's vodka, isn't it?
There's nothing in there now, so I can't even prove it.
It was vodka.
No. Was not vodka.
If it was tea, there'd still be stuff left.
I wish it was something stronger. If it was something stronger, I would have already poured myself another one.
Oh, you know what? You got a point there. You've got a point there. So I think Tommy Rees is overrated. I don't think that he's very good at all. I didn't think he was good at Notre Dame. I was happy to see him leave. And I think Notre Dame's better off for it. And I think they're showing that through the first 3 weeks because his offense is clicking on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
they looked great. I saw most of the game.
Yeah.
On Saturday. They looked really good. I seen, I had to look up. I did not know this guy looked that old.
But when he took off his helmet and he's got that beard that looks like he's been growing for 23 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came right from Home Depot.
Yeah. They picked him up in the parking lot. He had a sign that said work for food.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, it is 9/11. It is a day that will always live in infamy in this country. And should never, ever, ever, ever be forgotten. It's something that we deal with every year on the anniversary of 9/11. You see, they show the videos, they show the aftermath, they show the carnage. And so it's one of those days for me that's always, it's always a little tough just because of where I was and what I went through with Ground Zero and the things that I was a part of. But I always like talking to people and telling stories and figuring out where they were on 9/11 when everything happened. So if you guys would like to share with us in the comments, where you were, how you found out about 9/11, or even just your feelings regarding it, feel free to share with us in the comments as we share some stories with you. So Fitz, where were you on 9/11 when everything kind of, as Alan Jackson would say, when the world stopped turning?
Yeah, I was in college at the time. My mom called me up. I had a little box TV, as a lot of people did back then, and she's like, "The bombs are dropping, Ryan, wake up!" I was like, woke up, and it's
half drunk.
What is it, like 10 in the morning at the time, our Central Time? I think it was 9 Eastern Time. Like, what are you talking about? I turn it on, and I didn't know the scale of the World Trade Centers, so I was like, "Oh, just like a propeller." And they thought like just like a small prop plane might have hit it. They didn't even know the scale. And then the second plane hit, and basically I did what a lot of Americans did was watch news then. That's when they started the ticker. You know the ticker that's at the bottom of everything now? It
Yeah.
started around 9/11. It might have already been around, but I don't think it was that. I don't think it was on every station yet. Yeah, and it was probably one of the more profound things I've seen, where it was like, oh wow, this is like World War II stuff. Like, what is going to happen next? Like, what are we doing next?
Yeah.
Do I have to actually listen to my government now? Always had a love for America, though, and very happy for where it's brought me. I mean, Jesus Christ, is my story. I feel like Obama right now. Is my story even possible in any other country? Probably not. I might not have survived, but I mean, yeah, it was a really crazy morning, weeks going on too. Everybody was talking about it. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I even from my point of view, my blurry point of view, it was. But I don't have your story, but yeah, it was something.
Yeah, and so I was actually in the Marine Corps at the time on Camp Lejeune. I had actually gone into the break room to grab a candy bar, and I looked up and I see, plane flies into World Trade Center. I was like, huh, that's weird. I went back into the office and, told my gunnery sergeant, hey, I don't know, something just hit the World Trade Center. I think they said it was a plane. So we went back in just to watch. And about 30 seconds after we went back in to watch, the second plane hit. And it was about 5 minutes after that, all the phones started ringing. And I just remember Gunny saying, hey, we got to go to the armory. And we get to the armory, and when we get there, the lieutenant colonel is there. Never see that guy. Ever see that guy out of his office. And he goes, everybody's got to go to the battlefield. So we went out there. We brought 50 cals. We brought RPGs. We brought rifles.
Jesus.
And we were ordered to shoot down anything that flew overhead. And we were all we didn't know, we knew we had to follow orders, but we didn't know what we were going to do. What if a plane flies overhead? Like, are we really going to shoot down a plane? And then after about 4 hours of nothing flying over, because they grounded everything, and we didn't know what was going on. We found out what an RPG does to a pigeon. Because it flew overhead, and we got yelled at. And you just wasted a $7,000 RPG round on a pigeon.
Up your butt, Joe.
And we're like, Gunny, you said anything that flew overhead. Met planes, asshole. Knock it off. Okay. Sorry. But yeah, it was a couple weeks later that about 60 of us got deployed out there, and we did the cleanup, and then there were lots of things there. A lot of people think only those 2 buildings fell that day. There were actually 9 buildings that fell that day. Because as the towers collapsed, they fell onto other buildings. And so there was a lot of stuff that went onto that. I hadn't been back to New York from the time that I left in February of 2002. I hadn't been back to New York since until 2016. And I went there to go see the Cubs play the Mets. And we decided to go to the World Trade Center Memorial, which was pretty hard. Not gonna lie. I mean, it was tough. As soon as we got into New York, I could still smell the smell from when we arrived there. And so it's one of those days that for me, I just like it's hard. Like, I've never watched a 9/11 movie. And I don't watch any of the videos. When I see them start to get played, I turn off the TV. The images of the people falling out of the building and stuff, I just can't. So it's one of those things with that it's tough. For a lot of people, I realize that it's so much tougher than it is for me. For people that lost somebody, in that attack, And for somebody who,
or after,
yeah, I mean,
problems, all that.
the daycare, like I can't imagine, like with all of my kids, like I can't imagine getting that phone call. And I just like I know it's got to be so much harder for them to deal with, especially on this day, let alone every other day of the year.
Yeah.
And I just it will never make sense to me. What went on that day? A lot of this stuff that happens like this never really does make sense to me. But it's one of those days, and we should definitely never forget. Downey Thomas says, "Comb shooting birds with RPGs." I didn't shoot them. It wasn't me. I did not shoot the bird with the RPG.
I don't really.
Somebody did though, and all you saw was
the video and check.
All you saw was feathers.
Jeremiah Murray. I was studying political science at EUU. My sister woke me up with a call. Everything that ensued made me not want to do that anymore. Changed my life for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and it did that for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that enlisted right after that.
Shannon was going to a job interview at a warehouse. Did you get the job?
Yeah, I mean, like, did you go, or did they call you and tell you not to come in? Like, how did that go? Because I really don't know what happened during the rest of that time. We were out on that battlefield for over 24 hours. We were not allowed to leave. We for all we knew, like we thought that other places, more than what we already knew, we didn't even know about the Pentagon. We didn't know about the Pentagon. We didn't know about the one that crashed in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We didn't know any of this stuff.
United 93.
Yeah, and we didn't know what was going on until the next day when we finally got relieved and were told, to go home to our families. And there were just so many things that went on. I had so many, missed phone calls. I had so many, voicemails from my mom at home, just, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Like, and you weren't allowed to answer. So nobody knew what we were doing either. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it was like for the rest of the world. I don't know what it was like, for people in Chicago. Did they do all this stuff? I know from what I heard, that flight that crashed in Pennsylvania was actually headed to the Sears Tower.
Could have been, yeah. And I had my cousin who passed recently was working at the Sears Tower, and they were like, "You gotta go."
Yeah. Did they evacuate in downtown Chicago too?
Yes, they evacuated a lot of people in that entire area. They evacuated a lot in the O'Hare area too. So around O'Hare Airport there's a very big industrial center there that they have, and they evacuate a lot of people from there. Elk Grove Village is a giant industrial area. It used to be the biggest in the world. Manufacturing, shipping, a lot of that. So Shannon didn't get the job. Those bastards.
Sons of bitches.
How dare they?
John Hoffman says, I was throwing for 475 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 pass deflection, and 3 pick sixes. Recess superstar. You're not that young, Hoffy. Stop it. You're easily 52. You were not in school still. Stop lying. We were back in class shortly after talking policies that obviously didn't apply to the world we lived in anymore. Yeah, I mean, it changed everything. Like I said, it was one of those things where, like, I used to go over to Tijuana when I was stationed in San Diego. We would walk across the border and go to the clubs. Like, we didn't do the things that we have to do now. Like, now you have to get a passport just to go over to Tijuana, which is right on the other side of San Diego. Like, we used to go over there and party and get robbed by the cops in Tijuana. Like, this was part of our thing, and it was no longer a thing. Our world completely changed on that day, and some of it's for the better. Some of it you think of now and you're like, wow, they didn't check for that beforehand. Like they didn't check for weapons at the airport. What? Like, what are you talking about? But we didn't worry about that stuff back then. And now it's a common thing. Now I have to take my belt and my shoes off, and I got to get prostate exams every time I want to get through security.
You could walk all the way to the terminal with people.
Yeah.
Like even if you didn't have a ticket. Didn't matter.
And now I can't get past the front counter without a ticket. Like that's just everything has changed. You know, and I don't not all of it's been for the worse, and some of it's been aggravating, but it was necessary. And like I said, I mean it's definitely something that's always near and dear to me. I will never forget. I deal with it all the time, so it's definitely something that I hope nobody else ever forgets either. So Huffy says he was 11. Yeah, in 1981. Stop it. Just kidding. Hey, Huffy, congratulations on the baby, brother. Just saw that him and the wife are expecting and are due, I believe they said around Christmas time. So congratulations. And we can't wait to meet the little guy, gal, whatever. You'll tell me later, I'm sure. But at any rate, it's time to get out of here. It's closing time. We talked Bears.
False start. Offense. The entire offensive line.
So bad. We talked Cubs, and we talked Notre Dame, and then we talked about 9/11.
Yep.
To everybody out there listening, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good night. Make sure you click that like, share, and subscribe button. Until next time, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies. And as we get out of here, one last time.
False start. Offense. The entire